There, there we are.
Grandchildren, the water can hear you. The water has memory. Nebe wabo endayen, haki mishkwi nebi abo, hey ya hey ya hey ya hey, hey ya hey ya hey ya ho. Water is the lifeblood of our mother, the earth. Water is the lifeblood of our own body. To continue to pass on the knowledge that needs to be given to the younger generations, you are the keeper of the water. Nebi wabo endayen, haki mishkwi nebi wabo, hey ya hey ya hey ya hey, hey ya hey ya hey ya ho. To make the changes in this life that we're all in, that grandchildren will stand up to the truth of what life is about and to live it in the same way our ancestors came to this earth. Nebi wabo endayen, haki mishkwi nebi abo, hey ya hey ya hey ya hey, hey ya hey ya hey ya ho. Each day when the sun rises, no matter how bad the day before might have been, there is new chance for your hopes and dreams. And I say, Chimikwesh, thank you for hearing the water song.
Thank you, Chris. Our congregation recognizes that we right now are sitting on the land of the Oneida people, who were original members of the Haudenosaunee, people with whom we hope to build relationship and understand what it means to be living on their ancestral lands. Whether you're visiting for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. You are invited to bring your whole selves to this worship service. Your doubts as well as convictions, pain and joy we have known, longing for connection and understanding, every part of you, of each of us, is welcome here. If you're visiting us today for the first time, either in person or online, we're glad you've joined us. We would love to learn more about you and connect you with our newsletter if you would like. There's a link in the chat if you would like to do that online, and there's also a form in the back of the sanctuary if you'd like to fill that out, and we'll get you connected to the email newsletter and also myself if you would like to have a conversation. So we'd like to have a few announcements today, and one of them is a reminder for those who are members and friends of the congregation to identify where you live on a map so that we can find each other and support each other if things are tough. And also the conversation today, the first conversation on neurodiversity is today, probably 11:50, a little before noon until 1. This conversation is particularly with those who live with neurodiversity, either of themselves or in their families or in their loved ones' lives. Today, again, a little before noon in the large room that's across the hallway. And I'll be facilitating that conversation in preparation for a service we'll do at the end of February on neurodiversity and why it's relevant to beloved community. Mary McEarl has an important announcement about beloved community and how we do it.
Very important. Spoons. Yes. Good morning. It is so wonderful that now with our ability to get together again, it just makes such a difference. I don't need to tell you that. Obviously, Zoom is important for people who cannot or should not congregate together, but for those of us who can, it's marvelous. And part of our embracing one another is coffee hour. Anybody who was a member of the church before COVID remembers how it was coordinated and carried out by each of us taking turns to sponsor this together time. So that's why I'm here today. Matt, who's going to be passing out some little handouts, has agreed to help me getting the Hospitality Ministries Coffee Hour reorganized and get back into a routine. That all being said, obviously where I'm going with this is coffee hour does not happen by itself. I believe in miracles, but that ain't one. So everybody here is invited to take a turn in providing it. And it really is not a chore. It's an opportunity for us to minister to one another. Anyway, so to remind old timers and inform new folks, just take a look at the brochure. It has everything you need to know about doing the coffee hour. Please take a look at it. And the sign-up sheet is going around if people could sign up for dates when they could do this. And we'll send you a reminder the Friday before, just so it doesn't slip your mind. So please, everybody, consider taking part in this important exercise. Thank you.
I will read for the chalice lighting something that is quite meaningful to me given who our guest speaker is today. And we are going to invite Jeff to light the chalice. But I'll tell you more about Reverend Karen Van Fossan after we light this chalice. These words are from Albert Schweitzer. At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And with that, Reverend Karen Van Fossan, who is right now in Fargo in North Dakota, where I might add it's warmer than it is right here, which is radical, who I was invited in 2016, actually all of the ministers in Unitarian Universalism were invited by Reverend Karen Van Fossan in 2016 to come and be witness in support of the Lakota people in particular who in the Brunswick-Mandan area were having to fight to protect their water from the digging of a pipeline underneath that water source. And I was not able to go when all those other ministers gathered. There were many. And so I made a commitment to myself because I thought, my word, one minister, one tiny Unitarian Universalist congregation in the entire state was able to publicly support the indigenous people who were struggling to protect their sacred water. And so I went out and was there for 2 weeks in a hotel and did whatever I could do to support Reverend Karen Van Fossan, who was an important link for our faith to how to show up well, to be part of the movement that the Lakota and the indigenous people around the world began back then. And so, Reverend Karen Van Fossan, please call us into worship.
Good morning. It is so good to be with you across these many miles. I heard it said just this morning, I believe in miracles, and in my life, my friendship with your dear minister has been one of those, and the opportunity to be with you this morning, I have a feeling is going to be another. So I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer as we call ourselves in from all the places we've been, inside ourselves or outside of ourselves. You just notice your own breath, your own breathing, that sacred air coming in as a gift and leaving also as a gift. Great mystery, spirit of life and love, whom we call by many names and know we do not ever really know. Thank you for this morning, for the sun today and the moon yet to come tonight. Thank you for this planet that nourishes us and that we have a chance to be a part of for the entire duration of our lives and for all we know, far before and far after. Thank you for air that feeds us, water that animates our bodies and our lives. Thank you for the fire of conviction in our bellies. And thank you for the earth that makes us up and that we live upon and in and as every day of our lives. Blessed be in honor of all our relation. Amen.
It is such a joy for Reverend Karen and Reverend Karen to work together. So if I'm a little giddy, that's why, and I'll try to behave. Chris, would you like to say anything about this first hymn, or shall I just invite people to join in singing? All right. The next hymn, the first hymn, is on 175. We celebrate the web of life, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing.
Yep. Oh dear. We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing, a fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glories of the earth.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. So I think all of our children and their families are at home, and I hope you can see me saying hello to you. And so that means somebody who's young at heart needs to come forward to help me with this. If you're young at heart and are willing to help me, I have a wonder box here that has a few things that will reveal some of the things we experienced at Standing Rock. If that doesn't tempt you, I don't know what will. Thank you, Katie. Now, because you are higher, taller, Would you help me move this? We can go here. I'll move this, and you hold on to. Here, you hold that. I'm changing up as we speak. And Jeff is saying, Karen, your back is to everybody. That's not helpful. It's true. I'm sorry. Okay, and if you place the tape coming out this way. Yay. Okay, so if you open the Wonder Box. And in that Wonder Box, would you tell people what you find?
I've got some pictures in here. We have some pictures.
Would you put them up as you see them? Right there. If you stand in front of the whiteboard and pick it up, we'll do it this way. Up on the tape. That's it. That is a teepee at night.
And here we have what looks like a bunch of teepees.
An encampment that is there and a sign in front of it that says we are unarmed, because even though they were there peacefully, the police and the military from states all around were coming and descending upon them. And if you can space it out. There. And this one is yet another camp picture. The tents and buses came and increased, and then this is a unit.
We got a bunch of people here.
A bunch of people who are Unitarian Universalists and helpers. The Unitarian Universalists sent money, and we were able to create a yurt that was insulated so that particularly vulnerable and elder people could stay in that when the temperatures dropped below freezing. This one is when the snow fell. And in the middle, there's a white dome that is the place where people who came to the tent would learn about how to be respectful allies of the indigenous people there. And that one.
Here we have our amazing allies.
Amazing group of allies. Reverend Karen and I are snuggled over here, and we were invited to sing at a prayer service that Karen will tell you about, Reverend Karen Van Fossan. That's right.
Here's practically everybody, it looks like.
There are many, many people, including indigenous representatives from all over the world. Hawaii, Alaska, many, many places. Thank you for your help. And with that, I'm not sure I need to say any more to introduce Reverend Karen Van Fossan, but she was our link between what was happening that the entire world was focusing on, and with the Unitarian Universalists who were able to show up in a very beautiful way.
What year was this?
This was 2016. Thank you. I meant to say that. 2016 when we were invited, but Karen's going to tell you more. And so I will stop my together time with thanks to Katie and you all and invite Reverend Karen Van Fossan.
Well, thank you so much. As your Karen and I visited about this service, we landed on a story that I might share for together time, and then we'll roll along. So in early December of 2016, Chief Arvel Lookinghorse, who is spiritual leader for Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota people, and a bundle carrier, 19th generation white buffalo calf pipe carrier, invited the world to come and pray together at Ocheti Shakoni Camp at Standing Rock. And thousands of people gathered, all in a spirit of prayer from more traditions than I know how to count. And as your Karen mentioned, we sang a song in prayer. And as we sang, I looked out at the tents and yurts and teepees and the cold, cold snow and the glowing, warm central fire and these thousands of beautiful, well bundled human beings with their faces flushed with cold and their eyes deep in a gaze of reverence and prayer. And I thought to myself, this is a moment to remember. When I am lonely or sad or hurting or injustice has overwhelmed me, just to remember these people, these spirits gathering to pray, and that I was able to be there with them and maybe carry some of that spirit forward has continued to guide my life. So thank you very much for hearing that story and enjoying the Wonder Box. And I will weave now into the sermon portion of this service. If you'd like to know quite where we are, that's what I think is happening next. Somebody please stop me if I've misinterpreted what's to come.
You're exactly right.
Okay. Each month, behind the wheel of my 2002 Toyota, which runs better on the inside than it looks like it might from the outside, I used to take a 220-mile drive past teeming lakes, clustering trees, and any number of big box stores to Sandstone Federal Correctional Institution in Sandstone, Minnesota. As a political prisoner from the movement to resist the Dakota Access Pipeline, Rattler once lived at Sandstone Prison, along with roughly 1,200 other imprisoned men. All 6 political prisoners from the Standing Rock movement, and I will say their names as I often do: Rattler, Little Feather, Angry Bird, Dion, Red Fawn, and Bravo. All 6 political prisoners from the Standing Rock movement are Indigenous people who were targeted by the U.S. government for engaging in an Indigenous-led struggle to preserve Indigenous ways of life on Indigenous lands. Responsive to the call from Standing Rock, Jessica Resnicek, a white activist from the Catholic Worker Movement, tampered with the pipeline south of here in Iowa. For her solidarity with an Indigenous-led struggle, she has also become a political prisoner of the United States. According to the Fort Laramie Treaty, as well as many others, the Dakota Access Pipeline crosses all over Indigenous lands. I also crossed Indigenous lands, Lakota, Dakota, Hidatsa, Anishinaabe, and more, as I journeyed to Sandstone FCI. It's a minimum security facility not too far from the Kettle River and the gorgeous sandstone ridges which that Copper River has helped to create. The prison sits just about dead center in aptly named Pine County. The men of Sandstone FCI are separated from the rest of Pine County by a double row of massive fencing, untold lengths of spiraled razor wire, and hordes of well-locked doors. The first time I visited Rattler, I stopped to snap a few pictures from that scrappy front patch of lawn. I was inspired by Leola Cowboy, who had recently shared a selfie from the outside of USP Hazleton in West Virginia, where Little Feather, her now former spouse, was doing time. So I thought Rattler's loved ones might also be comforted by a selfie, fencing and razor wire notwithstanding. But a female guard, twice my size in muscles and bulletproof padding, burst from the solid door. "Are you a visitor?" she asked. I nodded and tucked my phone away. "What are you doing? Are you taking pictures?" As I mumbled some reply, she interrupted. "You better not be taking pictures of our fence. or you'll never visit here again. As incidental as this experience turned out to be, I did in fact visit many times again. The experience stays with me now because of how it troubles ever so slightly my own settler colonial identity, an identity which has always depended upon the consent of other settler colonials to maintain. The guard had the prerogative in that moment by the door to treat me like a quasi-prisoner, an outsider to settler colonialism, because of my proximity to a prisoner and the imprisoned body. Jessica Resnicek, even as a descendant of settler colonialism, has now become a prisoner herself for the proximity she created between her own body and the anti-colonial water protector movement. During the summer of 2021, I was also arrested and jailed for my own proximity to the water protector movement and the indigenous-led resistance to the Line 3 pipeline. For as long as I live, I will never forget the sound of that cell door locking behind me, or the lunch tray scraping across the slot. I imagine my ancestors may have experienced moments like that, this fear of jail and punishment and injustice. If they were any immigrants of history, my ancestors would have fought, sometimes literally, to be admitted into Americanness, into the in-group here in the United States, in order to be free from, or at least more free from, injustice. As traumatized peoples from Europe, my ancestors gave up their histories, covered their pain, and shifted to a greater or lesser extent their historical suffering onto the more recently colonized peoples of Africa and this continent, in order to be safe, or at least to be less in danger. Even today, a safe neighborhood is often code for a predominantly white neighborhood, regardless how much family violence and emotional suffering happens within. Regardless, in fact, how unsafe such a neighborhood, like the retreat at Twin Lakes, might be for Trayvon Martin. Still, maybe that's what places like Sandstone FCI and USP Hazleton are meant to guarantee for those on the outside. Safety, security, separation. Certainly, I was a descendant of settler colonialism when I was at Sandstone FCI, visiting Rattler. I didn't become Black and I didn't become Indigenous, the two most prevalent backgrounds of people I would see there, along with white. But when I arrive at a prison as a visitor of a prisoner, I am situated for a time on the other side of the armor of colonialism. While I may not be an enemy of the empire exactly, not a person in a cage herself, I'm also not a friend of the empire, not a person with a key, a gun, or in those moments, a voice. For those moments, I feel my colonial status flipping. While I am not them, I'm also not fully us. My proximity to prisoners' bodies disrupts the white American identity that my ancestors struggled so hard to make for me. On that first prison visit, Rattler and I sat face to face, hunched forward in our seats, part bench, part pew, part chair. In a Ziploc bag, I had brought quarters for the various mismatched vending machines, which slumped along the exit wall. Under a sign, "No refunds," printed on standard copy paper, half the machines, at least, didn't function. Rattler, like every other person in prison, was barred from any contact with the vending machines, the microwave, or the money. Everything in prison seems to cost money. There's a copay to see the doctor. You have to buy soap and shoes and phone time. Even sending money to prisoners' commissary accounts so they can get their necessities costs money. Dion, a Dakota Access Pipeline political prisoner who also did time at Sandstone before his release, had a job in the kitchen. He made 50 cents a day. One evening on the phone, we figured out he had to work a full 14 days to afford one commissary pizza. It's slavery, we both said. Even though in 1863 enslaved peoples were freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, even though in 1865 the 13th Amendment abolished slavery for good. But as you may know, there's one clear exception to the 13th Amendment. Quote, punishment for a crime, end quote. If you've been convicted of a crime, according to the U.S. Constitution, you can be made a slave. And it's not just the wages. When Little Feather and Leola wanted to have a legal marriage, they asked if I would conduct it, as I was vested with that colonial power. Since they had been wedded in their hearts from the days of Oceti going camp, we liked to call the event their re-wedding. But the re-wedding wasn't allowed, not while Little Feather was in prison or later in the halfway house, because an authority of the state, not Little Feather himself, had the power to decide. As Frederick Douglass said in 1845, I didn't know I was a slave until I found out I couldn't do the things I wanted. Prison is the epitome of not doing the things you wanted. Prison is the slavery of our age. I'll never forget the first time I saw Little Feather in chains, or Rattler behind those razor wire fences, or Dion behind that immovable wall of visitation glass. Still, carried into the prisons themselves, the spirit of freedom persists. Before his release, here's what Rattler had to say. When I get out, quite honestly, if the fight isn't over, I'm going to jump right back in it because it's the right thing to do and it's where I belong. So when I get out, I've got your back. Here's Christina, Dion's mom. My son had a purpose. Water is life. That's why he was there. Whatever he did to protect the water and the water protectors, he did out of love. And finally, here's Little Feather before his own release. Please let our people know that I love them, and I'm honored to be where I am at for them. I want our people to know also to never give up hope on our movement. A few years ago, though they're not together anymore, Little Feather and Leola did have their re-wedding. We assembled down by the river, the same rolling river we had all gathered to protect. We wrapped them up in a star quilt, green as Mother Earth, blue as that wide Missouri. We made our prayers that day. Many loved ones, Little Feather, Leola, my daughter, my grandbabies, in many languages, many ways. Some of us touched the water. All of us touched the earth. We took pictures for the ones who couldn't join us. We said blessings for the ones who couldn't join us. We called upon the ancestors, theirs, yours, mine. We named a painful past. We envisioned a sacred future. In spite of the pain that has come before, in spite of the pain that has surely come since, maybe in that circle, maybe in that moment, maybe with one another, we were free.
Thank you.
We are going to sing a round this morning, and it's fairly easy. If you want a little tip for how to remember it, the name of the piece is Now I Walk in Beauty. And with the tradition, the beauty is before you, behind you, above you, and below you. So we're going to sing this through 4 times to start with. And on the first and the second time, you can just listen. And hopefully on the third and the fourth time, you'll join in. And then we're going to break it into a round on the 5th time, and we'll have the row that's on this side sing with me, and we'll have the row that's on the outer side sing with Melissa. And it's exactly 1 phrase after to start.
Do you want people to remain seated, Chris?
It's up to them.
Please rise in body or spirit as you would like.
Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me, above and below me. Now I walk in beauty. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is behind me. Beauty is behind me. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me. Above and below me. Now I walk in beauty. Beauty is before me. Beauty is behind me. Above and behind me. Above and below me.
Reverend Karen Van Fossan will honor us with her prayer.
I will share a reading that I created in gratitude to so many UU people of so many backgrounds and ethnicities and identities who came in body in spirit, in intention, in prayer, in meditation, to support the water protector movement at Standing Rock and beyond. So this is for you and us all, whatever our backgrounds and identities might be. Solidarity is not a favor, not a present wrapped in a bow for someone else's carnival, not an altruistic venture into someone else's fear, not a charitable activity or a merciful pursuit or a generous endeavor. When we fight, struggle, march, dance, write, sing, pray for anyone's liberation, anyone's humanity, anyone's aliveness on this round blue planet. We fight, struggle, march, dance, write, sing, pray, and pray, and pray as much for our own.
As we support this church with our offering, we are supporting our vision. And we're supporting a network of Unitarian Universalists who, by the way, came together to go to the different prisons where the indigenous people who were imprisoned were sent thousands of miles from their own families. And those Unitarian Universalists would show up, they'd send money to commissary, they would be there when they got out of prison, they would host the families when they came across the country. So please offer what you are able in treasure, time, and talents in support of all that we stand for in love.
All my relations come, every nation come, all my relations under the sun, we are one. We are praying, come, we are praying, come. We are the song and we are the drum. We are one. Mini wachone sing. Mini wachone sing. Mini wachone, water is life for everything. We are the water, sing. We are the water, sing. We are the water, we are where all life begins. We are the ancient ones. We are the ancient ones. In your breath and bones we sing on, we are one. Mini wachone sing. Mini wachone sing. Mini wachone, water is life for everything. We are the earth and sky. We are the thunder cries. We are the fire. We are the light in your eyes. We are standing strong, like a rock, like a stone. On the sacred ground we belong, we are home. All my relations come, every nation come. All my relations under the sun, we are one.
Please read on your order of service the words for extinguishing the chalice. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Reverend Karen.
It is a joy to be with you in the present, reflecting on the past, dreaming of the future. As Fannie Lou Hamer famously said, civil rights leader during the 60s and before and after, nobody's free until everybody's free. Which I think is another way of saying, as we sang together so beautifully this morning, from Dene tradition, now I walk in beauty. May we remember how beautiful we are, how beautiful this planet is, and all who inhabit this sacred place. As we breathe in this sacred space and release this generous gift of air and breath and life, I honor you, I appreciate you, and I hope and trust that beauty will move with you all the days of your lives. May it be so.